This is my portfolio, my Google site. As you can see underneath my name, I have a brief little intro about me as a teacher and my classroom. I am a high school math teacher that has been teaching pre and post COVID, and all of the ideas and things that I've had to implement over the last 2.5 years due to COVID and being distant learning and things like that have really informed all of my thinking when it comes to equitable access to learning, facilitation of critical thinking, and then lesson design to support student success. Starting with lesson design to support student success, as we click through that, we can see that I have a little statement about my TPACK lesson plan. And then from there, underneath, there are 3 linked pages, one about digital tools that I use in my classroom, a couple ISTE standards that I think are really important in a math classroom, and then strategies to aid my technology use in a math classroom. So looking through all the digital tools, the apps that I like to use, my class is a one-to-one classroom, which means that all of my students have an iPad as well as I do. The entire school is an Apple one-to-one school. So we are iPad friendly, which has its pros and cons. Being a very highly technology based school, we have to really make sure that students focus in on the material and not get lost in the misuse of technology. A couple apps that are really important in math are Notability, IXL, Desmos. I use quizzes a lot in order to get quick, formative assessments for students. Students tend to like this because they get to compete against each other, but I turn off any kind of speed setting, so that way students are really focusing on accuracy and getting the most points out of accuracy instead of who can answer the fastest, kind of like a Kahoot would do. The quizzes really makes you take that time piece away so you can focus on your accuracy. Couple of the standards that I think are very important in terms of mathematics are 1.5C, that students break problems into component parts, extract key information, and develop descriptive models to understand complex systems or facilitate problem solving. Mathematics is all about problem solving and being able to persevere through difficult problems. That is really the life skills application that math teachers tend to give to our students, is that you have to be able to persevere through anything in life. So let's set some personal goals and reflect on them throughout the year, which is standard 1.1A. A couple strategies that I use using my the apps that I have shown you. One of them is Notability. Notability is a fantastic way for me to create documents to push out to students for them to keep in a online notebook or a digital notebook through Notability. One of the things that I do is create what I have called a live study guide. This study guide, the students themselves fill out after every quiz and test. We go through the test and quiz ourselves together as a class, and students will highlight things that they do well first. We want to make sure that students are highlighting what they are doing well, so that way they can feel a sense of pride through their work. And then from there, we can focus on what our weaknesses are and what we need to do. From there, I have students describe what topics they might have done poorly on or what they need to work on. Then they're going to create an action plan, such as I need to do problems X, Y, and Z in order to prepare for my test or my final. And from there, these students now have all of these study guides within one notebook on their iPad. And then at the end of the semester, when we are reviewing for a final exam, the students have a self-made study guide and they know exactly what they need to work on, and they created it themselves. And that is really what modifications are in math classrooms. So students really need to own their own learning and decide what they need to work on to better improve what they have done. I also have a link to my TPACK lesson plan over on this left-hand side. This lesson was about quadratic equations and the use of Desmos. I have made adjustments to it based on feedback. That is all going to be here in my linked lesson plan. Going through equitable access to learning. Okay, I tend to give students, I have found it very helpful to record lessons just like you are watching now in order to put those up on my school webpage for students that, one, are either absent, or two, might have just missed a little something during class and they don't have time because of sports or work or what have you after school to come to get help. They have the opportunity to watch these video lessons back over at home and then come in the next morning to get clarified, to get their questions clarified and the extra help that they need. Facilitating my through Triple E framework. The Triple E framework in general is about enhancing, extending, and engaging student learning. I use the app called iExcel, which is a math practice app. They have the opportunity to go through any and all topics that they need help with, whether it be fundamentals. So if a student is understanding the algebra or the big picture idea, but they're getting stuck in, I don't know, simplifying fractions or something like that, they can then go into iExcel and do some extra practice. And I can monitor them from the teacher side. I can suggest certain skills for students and then provide them feedback based on how I see they are doing or where they're getting something incorrect. I use this as both a warm-up, guided practice, and for students to get just extra practice outside of the classroom. They are always trying to achieve a goal in these practice problems. If they achieve a certain point level, then they feel like they have accomplished something. And also, as I have said, as a one-to-one school, I have the ability to push out skeleton notes to my students based on the unit that we are working on, which really does help in students already having the practice problems written down or the diagrams if I'm teaching a geometry course. A lot of times students get really bogged down in copying down the practice problem or the picture instead of paying attention to the mathematics that is being explained. By giving them these pictures, they have the opportunity as well to look over what they are going to be learning the next day or things like that. And they have the opportunity to bring it back and ask questions as they see fit. And that is a little overview of my digital portfolio. I hope you enjoy it.